Hey, this is Derek D-Train E2. Tonight's episode is brought to you by...
What are you doing in here?
Nothing.
Did I hear you say manscape?
Yeah.
Son, take a seat. I was gonna wait till you were a little older to tell you about this. When I was about your age, I experimented with manscaping.
Dad, that won't happen with the new Manscaped Lawnmower 3.0. It's made with skin-safe technology to help reduce against nicks and cuts. You can even shave your gooch.
What's a gooch?
Head over to manscaped.com and get yourself the Lawnmower 3.0.
Welcome back to the Blue Line Hockey Club, folks. Another exciting episode of the Blue Line Hockey Club. We have episode 105 tonight with all the usual suspects sitting in the house with us tonight. We have our producer, Patrick O'Lardy Sullivan. What's up, Patrick?
Aloha.
And our local nerd on staff, our IT guy, Robbie Pete Peters. What's up, kid?
Hey, how you mama now?
And the all-around sports guru, Derek D-Train He2. What's up, D-Train?
What's up, Sweetos?
And your host of the Blue Line Hockey Club tonight, Mark the Dr. Morley.
Oh, doctor.
Well, fellas, let's get right into a little hockey talk. Finally, we got some hockey back on. It's the first podcast we've had since they started rolling on the ice again. So we got a lot to talk about. The last week has been just filled with hockey games, more than we could even keep up with. How about that? What the fuck?
Non-stop. Jesus, I mean, I think we talked about it earlier in our group text. Like, it's, I mean, if you don't have a job and you live in your mom's basement and you still, ask your dad or mom for $20 every day, then you can follow the, hockey. But if you're like us guys, most of the guys on the Blue Line Hockey Club, older with kids, I mean, we work, so we try to catch up, and we're going to try to give you the best of the information we have. Obviously, we watch the games that we can when we're home, but yeah, like Mark said, fuck, it's what is it, guys? They come on at 11 and they go till 2 in the morning.
Yeah,
something like that.
I've been pretty lucky since I work from home. I have a TV on, and I've watched just about all the games. Last night was I was up till 1:30 watching the Wild game, and had to call it at about 1:30. I couldn't stay up till the end.
Yeah, I fell asleep before they pulled the goalie and got the last goal there. But, it was a weekend, so I did get to catch a bunch of games. Obviously, over the weekend, there was a lot of games on. And, it's a different atmosphere. We haven't talked about it, obviously, yet, but, we should touch on no fans, It kind of reminds me of watching the Olympics in China.
Yeah.
It's like, seriously, like kind of sometimes in the Olympics, there's just very few fans there. And it reminds me of the international play or, like a junior game or something. But
I mean, I said it to you guys earlier. Like, I think, I love that hockey's back and I love that sports are coming back in a way. But like, for me, I feel like it's been difficult to watch, honestly. Like, I have a harder time getting into these games. This is me personally. Yeah. I just think it's weird, man. I don't know. It's the fans bring such an element to sports that is so needed to make them relevant, make them, enjoyable to watch. And I'm not saying it's not good hockey going on at all, but for me personally, the no fan thing is really whacked. And I have a hard time getting into the games myself.
Yeah. I don't think I noticed that there weren't fans. I was just very happy to have some normalcy and to watch some hockey. And then, He2, you said the other day you were talking about Connor McDavid's goal, and I missed it. And when I watched it, I was like, holy fuck, that was nasty. And after he stuck it, all you heard was one person go, yeah!
I know. Yeah.
One person.
Yeah.
So it is bizarre. It's strange. Sure.
And to that point real quick about McDavid, I don't know if you guys saw that he had a hat trick, the other night, and some NHL employee came down and threw carrying like 5 hats and threw them on the ice. It's like it's so weird, it's just bizarre. I mean, it's cool that they're trying to still carry on the tradition of a hat trick and stuff like that. I thought that was neat. That at least tried to do that.
Yeah.
But maybe they should have like something in the rafters, like a basket full of friggin' hats or something for each team, So like if there's a hat trick, it just drops from the ceiling or some shit. But I don't know. It's bizarre. It's uncharted territory. And for me personally, I kind of have a tricky time watching it.
But they are pumping in some noise, a little bit of fan noise. It seems like. There's some fan noise. For me, baseball was harder to watch without fans than hockey because hockey is so action packed. Where baseball, it's like, okay, you made a pitch. I'm waiting. You threw another pitch. Like there's no fucking, excitement, right? Until there's a hit. So at least hockey, there's big hits. There's, action most of the time. Where baseball, it's like, man, you got cardboard cutouts behind the fucking, behind the catcher.
I mean, I'm with Mark. I mean, the whole baseball it's not action packed like hockey, right? So it's, they drop the puck. Yeah, there's not a lot of there's a lot of downtime in baseball, but in hockey, they drop the puck right away. Every once in a while they have a commercial break, but I kind of like it. Obviously, like Derek says, it's definitely weird, but with them pumping the noise in and with how they kind of the outside, it's kind of cool. So.
They covered up all the seats. I think I like how they covered the seats opposed to putting cardboard people. Looks kind of cool. They got the big screens that they show the players on and stuff like that. But
I think of all sports, all the sports that are going on right now, I think NHL is by far doing the best. I just think it's still even that I feel like they're doing the best. I still feel like it's sometimes difficult to watch.
It is.
But anyways, they're doing a good job. I mean, I think the NHL. Honestly, I know they're not like the highest viewership sport in the United States, but they're doing a hell of a job right now, in my opinion, to take advantage of this. They've really, put on quite a show. They put on, they got like no COVID cases going on among any team that's involved right now.
7,000 tests last week and 0 positives. So
I mean, they're setting the bar pretty high for all the other major sports leagues out there. And of all of them, they're the easiest to watch. I mean, maybe golf is, kind of up there with them because golf is kind of not a huge. Well, I mean, fans make golf a lot better too. But between that and golf, I think it's the most enjoyable stuff to watch.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, let's. Do you want to talk about the bubble first, or do you want to get into games?
Well, just Patrick, with that, regards to the 7,000 test and 0. Negative test. If you go to the NHL Network, I know they had a couple videos of the players and coaches and players, like they'll open the gate, let's say for assistant coach, and the kids are there, and even I think one instance they had their 2 dogs and the dogs are going crazy just so they could see each other. But yeah, I mean it is guarded like a prison, so they have gates around the whole facility. The players walk to and from their hotel to the rink through this corridor that is all caged, and it's got checkpoints. No one's allowed out. If they are players or coaches or staff, if they leave that little bubble, Gary Bettman is notified right away. So no one can leave. The contact there. So they really got a wrap down. I know the NBA, they just had some incident where a couple players were spotted at a gentleman's club downtown, wherever they're playing. So, the NHL bubble is a little more, I guess, more, concentrated or whatever you want to say there. They're taking it more serious. Yeah. So, and then they got a rec yard. It's kind of like jail, I guess. My nephew explained it. Jordan Greenway plays for the Wild. He's out in Edmonton. He said it's kind of like prison. So they got a rec yard. It's got cornhole. They got basketball court. They got ping pong. They have all different things. A couple picnic tables. You got the Wild in one corner. You got the
Chinglings in the other.
You got the Latino gang in the other. You got the whites over in the other. But and then you got the mess hall where they have different kinds of food vendors and people coming in catering food. So That's what they're doing. It's got to be boring for the players, but this is the way they're bringing entertainment
They're
to
playing
us.
hockey.
Yeah. So the bubble is very, very, they're keeping an eye on, and they're not letting anyone stray out of the bubble. So they're really, really doing a good job on that for sure.
All right, boys, let's get into a little bit of the hockey news here. First game we want to talk about, or first series we want to talk about, is the Rangers and the Hurricanes. Obviously, two of the guys on the show are in Raleigh, so follow the Hurricanes.
Raleigh Wood.
And Derek and I tend to like the Rangers, so let's get into it.
Yeah, I mean, when this first got started, I was very cautiously optimistic about how Carolina was going to come out of the gates, especially with the New York Rangers taking it to them 4-0 in the regular season. I thought the momentum should have been with the Rangers, but obviously Carolina had benefited from the pause. They got to heal some of the players that were injured and benefited from that. And then when they came out of the gates, they came out flying. So we were trying to take inventory. Who was the leaders going into the pause, and then when the pause started, who fell and who went up. And New York and Carolina definitely switched places.
Yeah, I don't know. I felt like the Rangers really played flat. I think out of the they probably had like two good periods in the entire, and they came in the final. I think the final game. I think they probably played their best two periods. I think the only time they led actually the entire series was in the final game when Kreider scored the goal, but I could be wrong on that. You guys can fact check me.
It was the first goal to start the game, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that's the only time they really led in the series, honestly. So, but I just felt like they played flat. Their power play was, abysmal. I think they were 1 for 14 on that. The player, I think the player that really shined in that series is Sebastian Aho for the Hurricanes. I mean, he was, I don't have a ton of experience watching Carolina like, our two Raleigh friends here, but I mean, that guy stood out like a sore thumb in those games. I mean, he's 22 years old. He's out there playing like a vet. He's, he plays both ends of the ice. He's not afraid to mix it up with people too. Once in a while, he got a little scrum at the end of one of the periods in one of the games. But I mean, I think he had 8 points in that series. I mean, 3 goals and 5 assists. That's ridiculous. In a series that was swept, you know what I mean? So in 3 games, 8 points. I mean, that's nasty. So, but I mean, I don't know if that goes to coaching or what. I think Rod Brindamore, I think he's probably one of the best. He might be one of the best coaches, probably top 2, 3, 4 in the league. I believe. I feel like he's in touch. Like he's like the mix of he understands like old school hockey, but he also understands what it takes for these new age players to kind of get them pointed in the right direction and motivate them. So I mean, and that's a pretty fine line to walk actually. And he just seems to have a knack to really have his players love him. And you see that. I mean, and, Rangers are a really young team. I think their future's bright, but, Quinn got out coached big time in that series. It's just Carolina showed up to play and the Rangers played really flat. It just didn't appear ready for the stage, man. They really didn't.
Yeah, they came to life. That's what Brendamore said. That whole line of Aho, Semechnikov, and Teravainen. I mean, I think you can put them up against any line in the NHL, and the only line I'm thinking of is the McDavid line out in Edmonton. And if you put those two lines together, I mean, that's a battle right there. Like Hitu said, that Aho, I mean, he's so young and he's just so gifted. They're just so dynamic of what they do out there. It's the difference in the game. I mean, that line combined for 4 goals, 2 each for Semechnikov and Aho, and 3 assists. And that fueled the Canes' run of the 4 straight goals, and they had 3 in the second period. So I think the Canes, like Derek's saying, I'm with them. I think the podcast before we had Craig Button on, and we talked about the coaching aspect of this playoffs 2020. And the coaching was going to be the factor. And I think Rob Brendamore, like Derek said, is a hard-nosed player, played back in the day when you had to have grit. It wasn't just finesse. It wasn't just, your God-given talent. And he's able to fire these guys up. And, along with their goalie, and all the other, Jake Gardner and Pesci and on top of that, some of these guys, most of these guys that they have on the team, at least 3 or 4 are from the Charlotte, Checkers, which is the Hurricanes farm team that won the Calder Cup. So they have that winning mentality. They got Rob Brendamore. They got that young line. They're a team that's gonna.
I also like the Vincent Trocheck pickup from the Florida Panthers. I think
outplayed, outcoached. Brendamore outcoached Quinter.
For sure. Carolina and Columbus kind of are similar teams to me. They both, they're not like, you don't look at their roster and say like, massive amount of all-stars on either team. They're just like a group of guys that gel well together. They play and buy into the system together. Those two teams are going to be dangerous, my opinion, again. But those two teams kind of mirror each other, in my opinion. And I guess you guys could talk a little bit about Lundqvist and not playing in that third game too before we move on to another series, perhaps. But,
before we jump into the Rangers side and Lundqvist, I just want to say, when we talked to Don Waddell, he brought up a good point, which is Rod's not going to ask his players to do something he's never done before or wouldn't do himself, right?
Yeah.
So that's where the respect comes in. He had a career, a very respectable career. The boys obviously play fucking hard for him. If you've seen the after game speeches, it is, Rod is a guy that I want to fucking play for. I'd run through a fucking wall to play for that guy. And I guarantee everybody in the locker room is feeling that right now.
Yeah,
I'll say real quick though, James Reimer stood on his fucking head in that game.
Reimer, yeah. On fire.
So that's what I was gonna touch on that too, as far as Mrazek in the first 2 games. He didn't see as much rubber as Lundqvist, right? So I think that was part of the deal with Lundqvist in the first 2 games. I think the second game was 30 saves on 34 shots. I think Mrazek was only like 20, low 20s. He's definitely saw a lot more pucks than Carolina. The third game was a little bit different with Reimer. Brendamore came out and said that he's the reason that they won that game.
37 saves. He was off the chart. He made one cross crease paddle save. That's
that was a nice one.
Fucking 9 out of 10 times.
I don't think that Lundqvist played that bad. I think that the Rangers didn't play that well to help him out in the first 2 games. They made the change. They're on the ropes, do or die, make a goalie change, give the young kid a chance, switch it up a little bit, change the momentum, give the team a little boost, whatever. It sucks for Lundqvist, but I don't think any of that shit was his fault. I am curious to see what Carolina does in the next round as far as goalies, because I think that Reimer should be the starter there. Mrazek was a backup to Jimmy Howard before he went, to fucking Philly, and then now he's in Carolina. He's been bouncing around. I think, was he in Colorado or something before?
He had a hot streak, and then he got hurt, and shit happens. You sit out a little bit, you lose touch, you're not in the game. Somebody else gets up.
I heard Coach Quinn was on Sirius XM radio on that NHL talk show, and he has a pretty good sense of humor. It's the power play, that's what it's called on Sirius XM, and he said that I can't Google how to handle 3 goalies and one of them being a Hall of Famer. There's no right or wrong answer on how to handle 3 top goalies. And we all knew this going into it. I think a lot of people bet money on the Rangers, a lot of money on the Rangers, just because they had that 3-headed monster of the goalies, right? And one being a Hall of Famer. And Quinn even said, sure, I made a few mistakes along the way handling that goalie situation. But I didn't do it intentionally. I got to give these guys a ton of credit. And he took a little blame himself, but I think the Rangers, like Derek said, were a little flat-footed because they had the upper advantage. The talk in the hockey world was the Rangers are going to walk over the Hurricanes. And, unfortunately for Quinn with the three-headed monster of those goalies, it was like drawing, flipping a coin. And I guess it's debatable. He might have made a mistake on who he played. But
let's not overlook the fact real quick that Lundqvist had 128 consecutive playoff starts for the Rangers going into that. Okay, they haven't won a cup with Lundqvist. They're down 2-0, in an elimination game going in. I mean, what do you do? I mean, you got to try to switch something up. In my opinion, I think you got to switch something up. And
yeah, you have to.
Got some young goalies, and Lundqvist has had 128 consecutive fucking playoff starts. You know what I mean? So, and he hasn't, for whatever reason, he hasn't been able to win the big prize. So I don't know. I mean, I don't think Quinn made a mistake really, as much as he looked at the situation. He said, "I'm in an elimination round. And this is it. I mean, I've got one chance to take a swing at it. Why not give the young kid a chance?" I'm sure Lundqvist doesn't agree with anything I'm saying right now, but I mean, from a coaching standpoint, I think at that stage you're like, I got to throw something at this team that's different than what they've been accustomed to. So,
sure,
I don't know.
Yeah, the Rangers are lucky. The Rangers are lucky to have a playoff team at all, right? So,
yeah.
I mean, let's not kid ourselves. So they weren't expected to go win the cup. So, they kind of squeaked in one of those teams that probably wouldn't have been in the playoffs.
I'm going to argue the other side for Lundqvist on this, just for shits and giggles here. So, let me put it to you this way. I texted you guys during that game. Panarin was pretty much unheard of. I said to you guys, I go, where's Panarin? I haven't heard it.
Yeah.
He's pretty much absent.
Zibanejad.
Same thing. The guy was on fire leading up to the pause. Somebody put the flames out on him.
Yeah.
But my point is this. Did anybody think to sit those guys? Did anybody think to, move them out and try something new there? Why is it the goalie's fault that the team out front of them are letting in all those bad, they let in those opportunities and they capitalized and scored. Yeah. So it comes back to that. Is it really the goalie's fault? Is this a Jimmy Howard? Is Lundqvist shit? No. The guy is fucking, he's a
Hall of Famer.
Hall of Famer. So, the other side of that is, do you change up the forwards? Do you change up the defense? And do you keep that Lundqvist Hall of Fame goaltender who is the rock and who is the solid? They lost anyways, right? So that's just the other side of the coin, and I'm only arguing it to argue it.
Yeah.
All right, let's switch it up. Let's get off the Rangers and we want to talk about.
Let's talk about Toronto. I was going to talk about Toronto real quick, just because watching that game, they finally pulled off a W. I mean, I just always go back to the Toronto because what they're paying these kids to play, and they're not. I don't know. I wouldn't say not producing. Yeah, they're not producing in my view, actually. And to see them to get that W was huge for them. It could be turning the series around. That was big for Toronto. They needed that win. They got it. I know.
Matthews got on the board. Tavares got on the board.
Yeah,
that changes things for them. Confidence shifts.
And we had Nick Foligno on the podcast, our last podcast, and we were talking about the defense and the offense matchup there. Obviously, Toronto's on the offense and Columbus on defense, but Columbus has been really shutting them down. And for a while, the first game, the first game was like, what the hell's going on here? Like, Toronto fans are like, what in the fuck is going on here? We got the best player, one of the best players, one of the best lines in the NHL, and we're losing to the Blue Jackets. But finally, and Matthews was totally ecstatic when he got that little tipping goal there, because you could tell the way he celebrated. It was like the big elephant got released off his shoulders, and then he kind of started, skating better. He was floating on the ice and started to play. So I think that's a big turnaround for them. Matthews needed that. The whole line needed that W to get them going. So I think that's going to turn over. I think the Maple Leafs are going to win that series. But I think the biggest thing is, and I think we've said it before, is that I think the spotlight should be on Toronto. I mean, with the salary cap they have locked in on these boys, it's they better go pretty far else. I don't know, what would you do? And just a shout out to Jake Muzzin, who got hurt there, fell kind of awkward. I'm sure a lot of people saw that. Kind of got whiplash or something. Got carted off on a stretcher. It was a whole 8 to 10 minute process there. But hopefully he's better and he's in the lineup. I haven't really checked on any updates on him.
He's out for the series. That's a big.
He's
loss.
out for the series. Okay, that's a big loss. Yeah, but so that was my little 2-bit on the Maple Leafs. That man, you guys got to do something. It's kind of It's kind of to me like the Miami Heat when they had LeBron James and Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh and all those players. And I mean, you got an all-star lineup. Like, you boys got to produce. So these guys got to produce, man. Maple Leafs. I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna do up there in Toronto.
Doesn't seem to work out ever when you build a team like that, honestly. I've never really, when you put a bunch of all-stars together with a bunch of egos, I just don't feel like that ever works. I always feel like building through the draft, building through develop, chemistry between, lower level players, like you can go a long way getting average players together with a good coach, and we know a lot about that. A lot of us grew up, on the teams we played growing up. A lot of us were average to a little slightly above average players that just gelled together. But I don't know. I disagree with you on the way that series will turn out. I think Columbus will win that. I think Torts, is going to outcoach Toronto. I think the players on Columbus are grittier. I think they are more bought into a system than Toronto. That's just my opinion. But I do think Toronto is, they're loaded with talent. But Columbus just, to me, is a team that's built better than Toronto is and coached better than Toronto is. So we'll see how it turns out.
Nick Foligno said something that had stuck with me since we talked to him, and that was, he goes, look at our team. We don't have anybody even close to being the National Hockey League point leader or even in the running. He said, we win games by committee.
Yep.
That's how you want your team. You cannot have we talked about this. Connor McDavid is not going to win a Stanley Cup by himself. He's not.
Yeah, their leading scorer has got 49 points in Columbus. So it's actually the opposite, like the team that Derek's talking about, the gritty, the building, the chemistry. That's your Columbus Blue Jackets, right? So they're playing the Yankees. They're playing, of the NHL. They and then you look at the Columbus team, it's more like a Bill Belichick coached with gritty players, that kind of team. So, I like that analogy, Derek. Let's get into a little bit of the
just 1 second. Just 1 second on that. Did you guys see Torts his press interview after?
Oh, everyone's awesome.
It's not going to help us to break it down here to you guys. He goes, the other team was good and we sucked. Yeah. The other team was good and we sucked.
I don't even know why they do post-game interviews with him, because he doesn't even talk, and it's just stupid. But I don't know. But just one quick on the Maple Leafs. I think John Tavares might be the best player on the ice so far for Toronto. He's got 8 shots on goal. He's got 1 goal. But Matthews has got 2 points. But Tavares, to me.
Real quick on the post game, you see where they had Freddie Anderson and Mitch Marner on, and the guys introduced and they said Mitch Marnie. And here we have Marnie and Freddie, and they looked at, the fuck did he just say? So anyway, on to the next one.
Hey, I think one of the most exciting series has been the Jets and Flames. I mean, we'll start it out with the Matthew Tkachuk bullshit. When that's just continued, right? But he ended up sniping last night, so that was kind of like a dagger in the Jets' coffin or whatever the fuck you want to say. But, that was a huge game for the Flames, getting a win. That series is 2-1 Flames right now. So next game is going to be a big one. Jets have some injuries too.
Yeah, a lot of injuries. I mean, you got three of their top guys out on injury. You got the Line, the Amish attack, or what do we call him?
Assassin.
Amish assassin. He's out. That's I don't know about that series. I really want Calgary to go ahead, but the biggest news is that whole Matthew Tkachuk hit. We had a little video on that, talked about that when it happened. We all said it was unintentional. Definitely was unintentional. I think Derek's description, was perfect, spot on. That when he was coming into the boards, he was trying to slow down, and his right skate kind of bounced off the ice. As you can see in the video, he was trying to stop, but as hockey players, if you've never played hockey, then you can't understand this. And you just think he's a dirty player. But sometimes when you do go into the boards, when you're coming into the boards at 15, 25 miles an hour, everything's not as perfect as it's supposed to be. You don't stop with both skates on the ice turning in the same direction. Your body doesn't go perfect. It's not textbook. Nothing's textbook in hockey when you're going 25 miles an hour into the boards, three guys going in at
that's well said, Pat. I mean,
and it kind of went into the boards looking like everyone's saying, oh, he tried to step on his leg. Get out of here. That's the dumbest shit I've ever. If you say that, you have no idea what you're talking about, and you've never played hockey. So
no, that's so true, Pat. And it's like, people forget, hockey players aren't playing on their feet, man. They're skating on a centimeter wide blade of metal. You know what I mean? Steel. And when you go into the corners like that, I mean, 1 foot, you may be stopping with one leg, in one direction, and you're using your other foot to slow you down in another direction. Maybe that doesn't make sense. Maybe it hasn't played the game, but sometimes you're chopping with 1 foot, and sliding with the other foot. So, from the outside looking in, it's really easy to just chirp and say, he's dirty. And, but, when things are happening, like Pat says, at 15, 20, 25 miles an hour going into the corner, momentum taking you one way, stopping with one leg one way and one way with the other leg. It's not, this isn't exact science, so things happen, and it's a dangerous game, man. And you can't forget that these are the best athletes in the world because they're not on 2 feet. They're on a centimeter wide blade of steel.
Sharp blade.
It's sharp blade, and they're doing everything that anyone could ever imagine as far as an athlete goes skill wise. So it's really amazing. And a lot of this stuff gets blown out of proportion by people that don't know the game.
Yeah. And I think, first game back after a long pause of a playoff game, these guys are throwing their bodies. You're going in the boards to throw their body, lay it all on the line. They're not holding up anything, right? So a lot of adrenaline pumping through their veins at that point so early in this playoff series. They're just getting back at it. You watch these games, they're throwing their bodies all over the place, and it's not a calculated hit every time.
Yeah, I feel like Winnipeg's coach is always quick to be whiny, too, to be honest with you. But hopefully we don't want to try to interview him someday after I said that. But he just seems like he's always complaining about the refs making a shitty call or somebody being dirty, but what it is.
Yeah, I think Calgary's going to take over just because of the injuries in Winnipeg for sure. Calgary's going to take the series.
Agreed.
All right, boys, let's talk about the Panthers live to see another day against the Islanders. I don't know how long that's going to last. It seems like the Islanders have their number. I don't know if anybody wants to touch on that, but they did win 3-2 today. So they're going on to another game with the Islanders. The games that I haven't really got to see is the games that I wanted to see was the Edmonton Blackhawks, but every game's on at 10:40 at night, and I just I haven't been able to catch it. So we got the highlights and stuff like that.
What, do you have to work in the morning or something? Jesus, you big baby.
Well, it's like every other night. So I watched the Minnesota game till about 1:30 in the morning, and then the next night there's no way I'm staying up for the Edmonton game.
Yeah, not 2 nights in a row.
I've been watching them all.
My
mom's been making dinners every night and my laundry, so I just been watching all the games and
beating off in between periods.
Yeah. Yeah, like we said earlier in the podcast, it's just been impossible to watch all the games. And the ones we do watch, we, in the evenings, if we get an hour or two to catch a period or two, great. But, it's tough to watch them all. And who can watch them all unless you're, yelling at your mom, "Where's the meatloaf?" I mean, it's impossible.
Give me grape soda.
Good God. But yeah, that whole Blackhawks and Oilers, it started out a little rough there. I think the Blackhawks, they had that first exhibition game, didn't look too good coming into the playoffs. But now it's tied 1-1. They play tonight, 10:30 game. We'll see what happens there. I think McDavid and Draisaitl are just unstoppable. So,
Marty, who did you think, though, from the Blackhawks? So you loved one of the players from the Blackhawks. You were talking about him earlier in the week. Who was that?
Yeah, there's this young kid that, I didn't really hear too much about him, but he made a NHL record for his first postseason start, getting 3 points. And I can't think of his name right now, but I'll look that up. Yeah.
Swino. I mean, but you got Draisaitl with 110 points right now. And what's McDavid have? Right around 100. So you take a team like Columbus, their leading scorer has 49. I think Minnesota's probably the same thing, around 50 points. I mean, there's a number of teams where the leading scorer on the team's around 50. And these guys have like 210 points, 2 people. Unbelievable. I mean, that's just if you break down how many games they played. I mean, how many games is like, I don't know, 90 games, or what are we at here? 80 some games?
Yeah.
110 points. It's ridiculous.
They're up there around 80 for sure.
Isn't it almost a shame that McDavid plays out in Edmonton? I mean, in a market, like where the games are really late at night and stuff too, a lot of times, unless you're on the West Coast. But, the hockey hotbed of the world is the East Coast, it would be so amazing to see. I've never seen anybody skate ever in my life. Talk about all the players that you want to, Gretzky's, Lemieux's, anybody. I mean, those are all amazing Hall of Fame players, but have you ever seen anybody skate the way this kid skates? I mean, he's like, it's almost like he's gliding. It's like he's playing against professional athletes, and it's like, somebody, when he's on the ice and he takes over, takes the puck and takes over a game, it's almost like he's playing against like a C team, out of like, the Bantam level. He's just skating around him. He's putting his arm out, pushing him away, roofing it when he has like a quarter of an inch of space and making it look like it's nothing. I've never seen anybody skate like McDavid. Never in my entire life have I seen anybody skate like that guy. The way he moves around the ice, it's unbelievable. And I wish he was in. I mean, I love Edmonton because as growing up, I like watching Gretzky and Messier and those guys, Grant Fuhr. So I kind of always had like a place in my heart for the Edmonton Oilers. But I wish he could be in a market where you could see more of his games, because the amount of talent he has in his pinky finger is more than most players have, in their entire body. And it's amazing because you only get bits and pieces like these highlights, and it's just so fun to watch that guy.
Yeah. The player we were talking about from Chicago, he's a rookie. It's Dominik Kubalik. He recorded 5 points within the first 2 periods of last Saturday's game of the Blackhawks Oilers qualifiers. Yeah. So this kid, the first player to record 5 points in his postseason debut. It's pretty good, and I'm keeping an eye on him now. He's pretty nasty out there. He's only 24 years old, I want to say. So that's pretty big.
Wasn't that game like 6-4 or something like that? 10 goals scored in that game.
Yeah, I forget what it was. I think it was 6-2 lead after the second period. Yeah. There's. God, I forget. He finished the regular season with 46 points. He had 30 goals and 16 assists, which, made him a finalist for the Calder Trophy. That's awarded to the top rookie. But, he's a stud player, man. He's going to do big things out there in Chicago.
So one of the players that I can relate to McDavid was Derek was talking is watching McKinnon play. I see a lot of the same kind of quality as far as how he skates up the ice with the puck. I was just watching the game before we came on a power play, and a lot of times either dumping and chasing, or they're skating in, stopping at the half boards, trying to set up the power play. I mean, he just skated around everybody got it to the deep in the corner, set up the power play. I mean, he just had the ability to get around everybody. He didn't have to dump and chase. Just a really quality player. And then once they got the power play set up, I mean, the Avalanche power play is like fucking nasty. You have Rantanen, McKinnon, Makar at D, Kadri plays on the left side here and there. I mean, it was just dangerous for the Dallas Stars. I mean, the goalie actually put his fucking arms up in the air after, like, they took a shot. You know, it was like just action packed, and they took a shot on the power play, and the goalies just put his arms up in the air, like, what the fuck are you guys doing? Can't you stop these guys? I've never seen a goalie do that in the middle of play before in the NHL. He just put his arms straight up in the air, like, come on, guys, give me some fucking help here.
Help me.
So, I mean, that's good. That's going to be a huge impact for the playoffs, for the Avalanche. I mean, that power play is just fucking nasty. And I just thought that was hilarious.
Yeah. Another thing that's surprising to me, although I haven't watched hardly any games, is the Boston Bruins are 0-2. They play their final game of the round robin against the Capitals on Sunday, and they can finish no higher than third among the four teams. So that was pretty surprising to me. I see we had the last game there against Tampa. Oh, Tampa's 2-0, which is pretty big. I mean, compared to what they did last year. But yeah, Charlie McAvoy and Wagner got a goal for the Bruins. But yeah, they're not doing the best everyone thought they would do. And you know, they lost to the Lightning, and Steve Stamkos missed that game. You know, he still got that lower body injury. So that's another big surpriser to me. Like I said, I haven't watched any of them, but I thought the Bruins would be dominating a little bit more for sure.
Well, they get Tuukka back. Back, so that'll be a big boost for Boston. Huge boost.
He played today. Just to touch on that, Pat,
today, yeah.
What do you guys think about the round robin? How significant do you think it is to be a 1 seed or, you know, a 4 seed? You think that's going to be a big game changer going into the next round, or do you think every team that they're going to face is going to be pretty good quality anyway?
I think with the shortened season, you know, the way this is like, you know, been thrown in, it's almost like everything's out the window at this point. You know,
I'm agree.
Like we talked about, you know, the Rangers, you know, in the season series with Carolina, they had a 4-0, you know, matchup with those guys, and here they get swept. You know what I mean? So I think you know, with this, it's like basically you're starting fresh. Nothing's going on. You know, there's no momentum going in. Everybody's starting flat from scratch. I don't know. I don't think it really matters, the seeding. I mean, obviously certain teams probably match up better with other teams. You know, and that's another conversation to have. But as far as, you know, exact seeding goes, I'm not sure it really matters at this stage.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think at this point, you know, in the NHL, there's not really a team that's playing right now that's terrible, right? So no matter who they match up against, it's going to be a good series. I don't think there's any team that's just going to walk away depending who they get matched up against. And you know, right now, I'm not really haven't been that focused in that the round robin games as much as the, you know, do or die games. You know, it seems a lot more exciting to watch the teams that are competing to trying to, you know, win a 5-game series. So, you know, it should be interesting to see. I mean, depending on what happens, but all these teams are moving on to the next round. So, I mean, whatever, it is what it is.
No doubt.
Yeah, not as much on the line for them right now as the qualifiers. You know, they do or die, and you know, the round robins, they know they're going to play. It's just like, okay.
Yeah, and last year, remember, you know, I talked about it last year, is that every team that swept last year lost in the next round after that. So, I mean, even if they sweep around and you go to make it to the next round, every team that swept last year lost in the round after that. So,
yeah. Yeah, I'm with you guys. I don't think everything's out the window for sure. I don't know if it's that big of a deal. I've been watching more of the qualifying teams than the round robin games. I haven't really watched much hockey at all besides the highlights. Obviously, watched the Minnesota Wild and the Canucks games the most. A little bit of the Avalanche just because I like the Avalanche a lot. We'll see how they do. I know there's a game going on right now. Colorado's up 4-0 on Dallas. 17 minutes left in the third, and in Pittsburgh and Montreal are playing. That's 2-1 Pittsburgh right now. 7 minutes left in the first.
Zucker scored that second goal to get the lead right there.
I think that's a goaltending fight right there. Carey Price and Murray. When I watched the last game, it seemed like the goalies were dictating what was happening in that series. Two awesome goalies. Whatever goalie's hot seems. I mean, pull out. I mean, that's why the Penguins or the Canadians are where they're at right now, 1-1, is because Carey Price. So see what happens tonight. It's 2-1. They're down right now, but still a lot of game left. It's only in the first period.
I see Clayton Keller had a nice goal the other night. A little breakaway between the 5-hole. That was huge. I think he got 2 goals that night.
2 goals, yeah.
Yeah, Nashville beat them 4-2. Clayton getting both goals. Series tied at 1-1. So that's another interesting one.
But they actually played this afternoon, and the Yotes beat up on them 4-1. So they're up 2-1 in that series now.
There we go. So.
Yep, and there's a lot of scraps, and it looked like a pretty feisty series too today. So that's heating up. It's good to see, some of these series. Even the Bruins Lightning game, they were getting after it today. So
that was a pretty tricky game there.
Yeah, I see Taylor Hall collected a loose puck and fired a laser. He got a goal finally. So there's another point elephant taken off his back. That's the biggest thing is just these star players to get a point or get a goal. Helps your confidence big time going forward, especially not playing for the last 3 months, and then you're pushed straight into the playoffs, and you got the Austin Matthews and the Taylor Hall, and you got all these not Connor McDavid, he fucking scores all the time, but some of these other players that just can't put the puck in the net, and it's still early, so I think the only series we haven't talked about is the Wild.
Yeah, and I mean, the first game the Minnesota Wild had, they were all over Pettersson, really beating him up, physical play. Like I think Pat said on a text last night, 6'2", 165 or something. I mean, is that even possible?
Is that even
do you have like skinny bones or something? How the fuck do you not weigh more than that?
165. Jesus.
Is that including with his equipment and his stick?
He's a fucking
pencil. I think I
neck.
weighed 165 and I was like 13.
So they were protecting his ass last night. They gave Greenway a penalty for a little face wash. I mean, a bunch of bullshit.
I know. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Bullshit slash.
Bullshit. Well, that was a pretty good slash, but that series is going back. It's getting a little chippy there. Foligno's gotten a fight. Like you say, Greenway's been battling in front of the net. But they just were a little sloppy. Stalock has been starting for them. That's the big news coming out of that series that I can take from it is, Dubnyk is on the bench. I don't know who they're going to start tomorrow. They play at 2:30. We'll see what the coach of the Wild has to do with that.
Yeah, I think for that series, for both of those teams, is what team's going to have third and fourth liners step up and stick a goal, and contribute. And, that's big for the teams that don't have high-powered offenses. Like especially the Wild, a very defensive-oriented team. They got a very good defense with Soucy and Hunt and Sutter and all these guys. Suter. So they're very defensive-oriented. They got a lot of defensive forwards, especially with Ek and Foligno. I'd like to see Zuccarello step up. I mean, he's a playmaker. He hasn't had too many assists or anything yet this series or, this year. So I think that he could be a game changer for the Wild. He's been a great playoff player in the past. And, the top guns like Fiala, obviously you're leaning on him a lot, Stahl, and that Greenway line. But they need to get some production out of, maybe a Koivu on the fourth line, stick a goal. Some of these guys. Donato, who can shoot the puck.
And that one win they did get was a defenseman there had 2 points. It was a little short defenseman. Virgin, yeah.
And he's earning $8 million a year. I mean, he's the guy that should be putting up some points. They got to get more out of Dumba. I mean, he's an offensive-minded forward. So, I think that's what's going to – if they can get some defensemen. If they can get some of their defensemen to activate, that's huge because they do have a couple offensive-minded defensemen. Get some points out of them. I mean, they don't have a high-powered offense.
What do you guys think of Galchenyuk coming over from Pittsburgh? What do you guys think of him so far? A lot of people forget that we have him on the Wild, and because he came over
the other night. Cost him a goal. Blind pass, fucking right on the blue line, gave up the puck. That was a game changer for that game.
Brock Bosmer scored off that, or I think Bosmer scored it.
The biggest thing I noticed was in game 1, the Wild didn't take any penalties. And then in game 2, they were in the fucking box the whole time. So
the whole time.
If they can be disciplined, if they can stay out of the box and play, whatever game they showed up with in game 1, Foligno fighting right off the gates, those are game changers for the bench, man. So they've got to find a way to fire everybody up without going to the fucking penalty box 4, 5, 6 times.
And they spotted him a goal 20 seconds into that game, which is kind of like a kick in the nuts, right? It's 1-0, 20 seconds in.
Yeah, that was a taste of the old Wild, when they first started. It's like, hey.
And Markstrom for the Canucks, he's standing on his head too. He had 32 saves for his first NHL postseason win last game too. So he's been playing pretty well. But they got some good players on that Canucks team, and they're going to be a good team going forward. Bo Hobart, he actually, I think he's from Minnesota Wild. I mean, he's from Minnesota. And the Wild had their eyes on him. They picked Eriksson Ek over Bo in the 2015 NHL draft. So it's Eriksson Ek was in the 2015 draft was Minnesota's number 1 pick, and then they passed up on Bo Hobart, and then he was taken by the Canucks 2 picks later. So
that's definitely a fuck up for sure. Eriksson Ek's a gritty player. He's one of those guys you want in your third line, very defensive oriented. He's a man down guy, but he's no bosser. The guy that I like for Minnesota Wild is Jonas Brodin. I mean, I don't know if you guys noticed, but he's very offensive minded, and he's got silky mitts for a defenseman. I really like the way he plays. I think we rounded out most of the NHL action.
Pat, you're on mute. The one thing I will say we didn't talk about.
Yes, sir.
Here, when he got tied up on the bench and his stick went into the bench and some guys grabbed onto his stick. For me, just because some guys grabbed onto his stick does not give him the okay to spear somebody on the bench. And they gave him the penalty for slashing. So to me, that was a missed.
Speared Hartman.
Bad call. First of all, he speared Hartman. So that to me is an ejection from the game, right? Isn't that an ejection?
Somebody should have knocked him out.
Oh, absolutely.
Greenway splashed him back from the bench.
Yeah.
Surprised he didn't get fined, yeah.
But we have got a lot of games to cover, boys, in the next couple of days. We're going to have, by the time we get on the podcast next week, we're going to have all these games finalized. So we'll be going into the next round. We'll see how many of the predictions that we made tonight are true. Definitely pulling for the Wild here. Hopefully they make it to the next round over the Vancouver Canucks.
And they have early games.
And they have games before 10:40 at night. I mean, the worst thing when you're watching a game at 10:40 at night is intermission.
Oh, man.
God. Especially the second one. You're like, all right, you took a shit in the first intermission. So
yeah, I know. I'll clean out the refrigerator in the second.
Unbelievable.
But just to end this, Mark, we got a podcast that you can listen to of a Minnesota Wild player, actually, Stalock.
Yeah, boys. Stalock's our interview that we have in the bank here from the Blue Liners, and check out what we talked about him with. He's been on fire for the Wild in the last couple games, and I'm hoping we see him in net. I think he's the guy to go to. He's been the guy that they went to before the pause, and I think he's earned his spot. So listen to the full episode that we had with Stalock. and enjoy it. He's a good guy. Well, all right, boys, another great podcast for the Blue Liners. So until next time, keep your stick on the ice.
See ya.
Oh, doctor.
Keep your head up.